Kakadosh Boker Or Shavuot Tov Daf Yomi Masechet Shevuot. We are going to do today Daf Lamed Gimel 33, but we're going to start in Lamed Bet Amud Bet on the bottom where it's the two dots. Okay? Hayu Shte Kite Edim. If a person has two different groups of witnesses, Kafra Rishona ve'acharka Kafra Shnia, the first group of witnesses were kofer, and then the second group of witnesses were kofer. Both of them are going to be chayavim. Why are they both going to be chayavim? Because since the edut could be mitkayem with one or the other, so therefore obviously both of them are going to be chayav mitzad the shevuat edut, because each one is going to be okay. So bishma shniyat chayev the kafra lirishona. I understand that the second one is going to be obligated because the first one were kofer, but the rishona, why are you going to be chayav? Hakayma shniya, you still have the second one. So Ravina says, what are we dealing with? If right now the second group, during the time of the kfirah of the rishona, of the first group, they were family members because of the wives, which means the two witnesses were married to two sisters, and therefore they were psulim to testify together. And then one of them got divorced, so now they become kasher. Right? V'neshotehen gosesot. Or another case also, right, where you have the two, they're gosesot. So therefore, right, what happens? He says, I would have thought to say rov gosol mita, and therefore during the time, meaning it's the same case, they're both family members, and therefore they cannot testify together. If you have two brother-in-laws, right, and right now the wives are goses. Goses means that they're on their deathbed. Something happened, right? Something happened to them. And what happened was that right now they're on their deathbed. And therefore, right, what happens is that I would say that if one of them already dies, right, so now they're not family members anymore, right? Or both of them have to die in this case in order that both of them are not 100% family with the other one. So what happens is that I would have thought to say Rov Gosol Mita, and therefore I'm going to say Kiru that they're already dead. And therefore the second cut are fitting to testify. Kamash Malan comes to teach you that that's why he says Hashtamia lo shachiv. Right now they did not die. And therefore, since the wives did not die, because even though the majority do die, right, nevertheless they're considered alive, and therefore the kata shniya is still psula le'edut. So since the second group is still psula le'edut, so therefore the kfirav the rishona, right, is mamash making them lose out. Basically, the question was like this: whenever we're talking about a case of, whenever we're talking about a case of kfirat edut, we said both cases, right, you're going to be, right, chayav. Why? Each one on their own is their own testimony. But he says, I understand, right, why is it that the first group of witnesses, when they are kofer, why are they going to be chayav? You have another group. The first group was kofer. You have another group. So the answer is you didn't have another group. Now he says, how did, so what? They just magically appeared. He says, no. There was a pisul because of family. And since it was a psul of family, when they came and they were kofer, so be'emet, everything was dependent upon them. So since everything was dependent upon them, that's why we say that they're going to be chayav when they come and they're going to be kofer. And then what happened was, afterwards, they became not family, right? Because obviously the two wives, they come and they died or whatever it is. And then now they're able to come and they're going to give their testimony. That was an ukimta that the Gemara had to bring down in order to be mechayev the first group, because if not, the first group should not be chayav. Mishnah on Lamed Gimel Amud Aleph 33a1 says the Mishnah, Mashbi'a ani alachem im lo tavo v'te'eduni sheyesh li biyad ploni pikadon u'tzumet yad ve'gazel v'avoda v'aveda shevua she'en anu yudim lecha edut en chayvim ela achat. So imagine a person comes and he's going to go to two witnesses and he tells them, I'm going to make you swear, right, if you're not going to come and testify about me, that I have in a certain person's hand, whether it's going to be pikadon, tzumet yad is alva'a, gezel v'aveda, and they come and they say shivua that we don't know any edut. Now, really, be'emet, right? They were false. So it says en chayvim ela achat. They're going to be chayav one. Why? Because they basically did a shivua klalit that they don't know anything. But if they came and they said shivua shenim sheyesh ploni pikadon, tzumet yad, gezel v'aveda, so then he's going to be chayav al kol achav achat. So then he's going to be chayav on every single one. Let's say, for example, there was also pikadon and also a tzumet yad, which means also alva alone, and they actually said it. So then they're going to be chayav too. If they said 3, they said also gezel or also aveda. There's going to be 3. It all depends what was their language. Did they make a Shevuah klalit? So they're going to be chayav 1. If they did a Shevuah pratit, meaning they explained each one, so they're going to be chayav on every single one. Mashbia ani alechem. Mashbia ani alechem. Im lo tavou v'tayidu sheyesh li biad ploni pikadon chitin useorim v'kusmin. So here, beforehand, we had different cases of what is it exactly. So one more time, I'm coming in and telling you, I want you guys to testify. About what? No, that I don't have in Mr. X's hand, that I don't have in John Doe's hand. Pikadon, that's a collateral, right? Aveda, lost object. Gezel, something stolen by him, whether it's going to be a loan, all those things. And we spoke about klali. So they went with that. We swear we don't know anything. That's klali. That's general. That's one. Or we swear that we don't know about A, B, C, D. You're chayav on A, B, C, D. Fine. What about now if it's the same thing? So it's pikadon, but the pikadon was 4 different objects. Or the pikadon lav davka 4, meaning different objects. That's what he says. He says, I make you swear that if you're not going to come and testify about me, that you have in the hand of Ploni a pikadon of what? Chitin, seorin, vekusmin. Wheat, right? Barley and spelt. So they come and they answer. So again, it's going to be 1. Why? Because here it wasn't on the pikadon, halva'a, gezel, vaveda. It was in the pikadon itself. But what's the pikadon? It's still general. That it what? But he comes and he says, if they say Shevuos Daf, chitin, seorin, kusmin, you're going to be chayav al kol achad ve'achat in each one. Fine. Next, 3rd case, right? He says, Mashbi ani alachem im lo tavo v'tziduni sheyesh li biad ploni, right? Nezek v'chatzi nezek, tashlume kefel, tashlume 4 ו-5. כשאנס איש פלוני את ביתי, פיתה ביתי, ושיקני בני, שחבר בי חברה ושליק בקדישי ביום הכיפורים, הרי אלו חייבים. Imagine a person comes and he says, I'm going to make you swear and testify about the certain person that, for example, he's obligated me nezek. He damaged something. So he has to pay me. Number 1 is nezek. Number 2, chetzi nezek. Number 3, tashlume kefel, which is double. Number 4, tashlume 4 ו-5. Right? That's 4 and 5. Right? Number 6, somebody violated his daughter, or he seduced his daughter, or his son hit him, right? That it doesn't have a chabura, or that his friends came and he hit him, right? And that he actually came and he lit the gedish on Yom Kippurim. Okay, he lit a fire, right, on Kippur. The person came and lit a fire on Kippur. Okay, and therefore he's going to be chayav, different types of things that he came and he did nezek. Okay. So he comes and he says, obviously we're going to speak about each case, obviously in the Gemara, to understand what's going on, because obviously he's chayav karet when he does a melacha on Kippur, right? But he's still going to be chayav on the chabala or the nezek, right? When we're going to actually understand hare elu chayavim. So in all these cases, right, a person will be chayav a korban. Why? Shevuot ha'edut. At the end of the day, right, when I come and I make you testify, and then you're going to swear falsely, right? You actually just swore falsely. So therefore, in such a case, right, you are going to be chayav shevuot ha'edut also, right, in these cases as well. So that was the Mishnah. Okay. So says the Gemara, Ibayelhu. So they're going to ask the following question: Mashbia ede knas. What about if the person is going to swear people which witnesses which are edim that they saw an action which is mechayev knas, and they were kofer? What is halakha? Are they chayavim a korban or not? So liba de Rabbi Elazar Rabbi Shimon lo tibay lecha. According to Rabbi Shimon, there's no question. The Amar, but he comes and he says, right? He says yavo edim ya'idu. Let them come and testify, right? And therefore, if right now they swore and kafru b'sheker, they're going to be chayavim. Ki tibay lecha. So when is going to be the question then? Aliba de Rabbanan. According to the Rabbanan, that he says amri modeh b'knas, and afterwards came edim, he's going to be patur. Right? So in such a case where he was mashbia, the tovei et edim, before the other one was modeh, so the edim would have come immediately, they would have been chayav. Right? Now we're going to say, right, that what's going to happen, because now they actually made him lost. Right? They made him lose out of money. Everyone understands the concept of modeh b'knas patur? Remember that in mitzad the Torah, if you're going to come and you're going to be modeh b'knas, you're patur. So a person comes and he says, listen, I ran a red light. Nobody saw him. Nobody caught him. He was modeh, right? Beknas. So technically speaking, he should have gotten a penalty, right? The fact that he was going to get a penalty, right? And now he's modeh beknas, he's going to be patur. Now the question is, what does nothing to do with migu? Yeah. Now he says like this, something else, completely different. So he says, what's going to happen now in a case where the guy's modeh beknas, and then two witnesses come? Two witnesses come and they testify. He ran the red light. So therefore, the question now is, right, is he still going to be patur, or is he going to be chayav? So according to Rabbanan, modeh beknas, and afterwards comes the edim, he's still patur. He's still going to be patur. So therefore, what's the therefore? Because he admitted to before the edim came. So therefore, if right now the person was mashpia edim to come, and what happened is that they didn't come, right? So therefore, they caused him to lose money. Because if they would have come immediately and testified, the other guy would have been chayav. Now that the guy comes and he admitted to it, right, because my edim didn't want to come testify, they made me lose money. So says the Gemara, so how do they hold? If they're going to tell me now, like Rabbi Zabir Shimon de Hacha, like Rabbi Zabir Shimon of here, Haka'amar, I thought that it says, Davara gonem lemamon kemamon dami. Anything which causes money is considered money as well. So therefore, any edut which is going to cause money is money. So therefore, even if you're going to tell me now that the nitva is, he's going to be talking about that he could be modern poteret atzmo, right? But 1 second, at the end of the day, if guys would have come and testified, that's it. It was already too late. El hakrabanan da'acha. The amni davara gonem mamon is not like mamon. So what's halacha? Kevan dilu modeh mi pater. If he would have been modeh, he's going to be patur. So it's not mamon kakafale. Or Dilma, maybe we say, but right now he was not modeh. So therefore, if he was not modeh, it's still mamon. So we don't have an answer yet. So it says Tashema. Let's try to bring a proof. So he says 1 second. Chetzi nezek is a knas. There's a whole question that when we were learning, right? What is chetzi nezek? Do you say is it? So we wanted to say the chetzi nezek is a knas. Why is it going to be a knas? Because if I tell you right now you have to pay, so you say, okay, how much you have to pay? Half the damages. You tell me, where does this come from, half the damages? So therefore, according to the Shita, chetzi nezek is considered knas. It's a penalty. I cannot obligate you, meaning like this. If you're going to tell me that it's not knas, so why in the world do you only pay half? You damaged, right? You damaged, you pay the full damage. So why do you have to pay half damages? So according to the Shita, half the damages is a knas. It's a penalty. You did a certain thing, you have to pay half the damages. It's not, because think about it, if you're, whatever it is, your animal, your whatever it is, it damages. So if you have to pay damages, you pay 100%. Well, all of a sudden, 50%. Why 50%? So answers the Gemara, Keman de Amar, Palganiska Mamona. According to this Shita, he's holding that really behemet, it's money, it's not a knas. Right? Now again, then you would have to go there and learn up. According to that Shita, why behemet only half? Okay, it could be it's exerat, whatever it is, but we're not going to get into that. But basically, this Shita is going according to the Shita, that really behemet, it's not a knas. So Hani Chalamanda Amar Palganiska Mamona, but according to the Manda Amar Knas, what are you going to say then? So he says, "B'chatzi nezek tzrurot ilchat hagmina le'demamono." It's halacha l'Moshe min Sinai. The chetzi nezek of tzrurot is going to be money, and it's not knas. Chetzi nezek of tzrurot, if you remember, was that if the animal came and the pebbles went flying out, so those pebbles flying out and does damage, right? Sometimes you're behind a big truck, and all of a sudden you're driving by, and all of a sudden you see on your windshield a whole bunch of little pebbles. So it's the same thing that you used to have an ox walking on the street, and the pebbles used to fly into your face or fly somewhere and would cause damage. So in such a case, that's called chetzi nezek. You're obligated to pay half the damages. Chetzi nezek of tzrurot. That is a halacha l'Moshe min Sinai, that is money, and it's not going to be knas. So let's bring another proof then. Tashema tashlum kefir. When you have to pay back double, what is a double? A person stole, and they didn't give it back. Because if they gave back the stealing, they only have to give it back, and that's it. If they were caught, what do they have to pay? Tashlum kefil, double. What is that double? Tashlum kefil. Usually, kefil is a knas. What does that mean? It's a penalty, right? You stole 100, pay me back 200. Yeah. So he says, Tashema, Tashlum Kefel. And we're going to speak about now Tashlum Kefel. Mishum Karna. He says it's because of the keren. What does that mean? It's included in the keren. V'tashlum arba v'chamisha, right? Mishum Karna. Again, it's all because of keren, meaning even though it could be that the kefel in itself is the knas, but at the end of the day, the keren is where it is that he has to actually pay. So he comes and he says, what about arba v'chamisha? Also the same thing. It's also going to be because of the keren. Okay? So because of that, he comes and he says, okay, fine. That means we're still trying to find a case about knas. So says the Gemara, anas ploni, right? It obviously was anasoto, right? The basically somebody came and he violated the person's daughter, or he seduced the person's daughter. Now in all those cases, he has to pay a knas, right? The 50 shkalim, that in itself is a knas. So answers, yes, but nothing to do with it. Yeah. So he says, answers the Gemara, mishum boshet ubgam. Again, it's boshet ubgam. Right? What does that mean? Right? He says the reason why they have to pay is because of embarrassment and a defect. That's not knas, it's money. Right? The knas is like a penalty. This is not a penalty. He came and he violated her. So therefore, if that's money, so that's money that's not knas. Yes.
Damage goods now.
Yes. Right? So my kamashmalan comes the Gemara and asks, so what does the Mishnah come to teach you? Kula mamon here. Everything that we mentioned until now, right, is going to be money, right? So therefore, why do we? So one second. Meaning, if everything's the same case, meaning if you're going to tell me that paying back the kefel is only because of the keren, paying back the 4 and 5 is because of the keren, right? Everything is always because of the original keren. So now, if you're going to tell me that it's not a knas in itself, and everything is all because of the original, right? So too. So then, why do I need so many cases? I'm going to come in, I'm going to bring you a Mishnah, and I'm going to tell you case number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I'm going to ask you, Rabbi, why do I need so many cases? You're right, it's all money. So if it's all money, so why do I need so many cases? Right? So says the Gemara, Reisha, the first case, right, when we're talking about Nezek until Pitat Biti, Chada Kamash Malan, right, we're going to teach a Chidush. Seifa Chada Kamash Malan. Also in the Seifa, there's going to be a Chidush also. Reisha Chada Kamash Malan, the Chetzi Nezek Tzorot, Mamonuhu. So the Reisha is teaching you the Chetzi Nezek of Tzorot is money and not a Knas. And therefore you're going to be Chayav because of Shevuot, Hayedut. So that means only one case of the Reisha was a Chidush. There's also going to be one case of the Sefer, which is a Chidush. When he lights, when somebody comes and he lights a Gadish, right? That means he comes and he lights a fire on his stalks of grains or whatever it is on Kippur. Lapuke, what does that come to? Lapuke. What does that mean like this? We know, I'm going to ask you a very simple question. Somebody comes on Shabbat and he's Mechalel Shabbat. Let's say, for example, I'll give you a case, he murders. How does he murder? He takes an arrow, right? And he shoots the arrow. Right? When he shoots the arrow and he's going to be Mechalel Shabbat, right? What happens is it tears the guy's shirt. Does he have to pay for the shirt? No. Why not? Kimle bedrabamine. Yeah, to kill the guy. And it killed him. Right? So does he have to pay for the shirt? No. Kimle bedrabamine. What does that mean? When you have a person that he has two obligations, one of them is going to be money, and one of them going to be a death penalty, you give him the more, the stricter, right? The stricter punishment, right? Now, that means you have death and money. You give him the death. What about, right, karet and money? So we usually paskin that karet, since it's not a death penalty down here below, you have to give him both. And the reason why you have to give him both is because you can't exempt him. So therefore he has to pay for the money. Rabbi Nuchuyam ben Akaneh said he made Kippur like Shabbat. Meaning, even though when a person is Mechalel Kippur, what's the punishment of Mechalel Kippur? Karet. It's not a death penalty. For sure not. Right? That's why Shabbat is more important than Kippur. Yeah? If a person comes and he's Mechalel Kippur, it's only Karet. So now when he comes, I cannot, but that's a side. No. So one more time. If a person right now is going to be Mechalel Shabbat and then they have an obligation to pay money. So we said that the fact that they're Mechalel Shabbat and they're going to get the death penalty, they don't have to pay money. To do with Karet, right? They would have to pay money because the karet is not the mitat bedin, and therefore we don't say the concept that once it's going to be that he does the chiyuv of a mitat bedin, that he's going to be exempt from the money. But Rabbi Nechunya ben Hakana, he wanted to say that just like Shabbat is going to be mitchayev benafsho patur mitashumim, so to Kippur selam imshos. That's the shita of Rabbi Nechunya ben Hakana. So therefore, there was a chidush that we don't go like Rabbi Nechunya ben Hakana. Meaning, we don't pass the Rabbi Nechunya ben Hakana. But since there's a shita like that, we wanted to bring down in the Mishnah that we do not hold like Rabbi Nechunya ben Hakana. Rabbi Nechunya ben Hakana wanted to say that Kippur is like Shabbat, to do with tashlumin, to do it that if a person was mechalel Kippur, he does not have to pay. Just like if he was mechalel Shabbat, he doesn't have to pay. Kamashmalan, we don't hold Rabbi Nechunya ben Hakana. We actually hold Shabbat is Shabbat and Kippur is different. Kippur is not Shabbat. And therefore, that's why we brought down the end of the Mishnah. So there was a chidush at the beginning of the Mishnah, and then there's going to be chidush at the end of the Mishnah. Once you have a chidush at the beginning and also at the end, so therefore that's why we said we had two different halachot. So now we continue. Tashema, we're going to bring another proof now. Mashbia ani alechem. Imlo tavoi v'teuduni. He comes and he says, I'm going to make you guys first, you're not going to come and you're not going to testify. Lamed Gimel Mubet, 33b. Shotzi ish ploni shemra al biti, that a person was motzi shemra. Right? Now he says, chayavim, so therefore they were kofed, they're going to be chayav a korban. Now here, again, it's going to be a knas of 100 shekels. When a person comes and he's motzi shemra, it means that he comes, he got married, and then he comes right afterwards to the bedin and he says she wasn't a virgin. So what happens? He was motzi shemra, that she went and she slept with somebody, right? And then she was a virgin, obviously. So now, so therefore, he has to pay 100 shekels as a knas. Now again, it's not nowadays 100 shekels. Yeah? Nowadays 100 shekels is worth it, right? So therefore, one second. So therefore, he comes and he says, right? He comes and he says, he's going to be chayavin the korban, right? And he's going to be now. What happens is that when these two witnesses come and they don't know the testimony, and then they're going to swear falsely, they're chayavim a korban. Im odami piatzmo, if there was modeh, right, from himself, right, that basically he was motzi shemra, he's going to be patur from the 100 shekalim, just like any knas. Because remember, modeh beknas patur. So he went and he made the shemra, and then afterwards he was modeh. He says, by the way, you should know I was motzi shemra. They didn't even have time to bring witnesses. He was modeh that he was motzi shemra. He's going to be patur. So says the Gemara, Hamani, who is this? Rabbi Elazar Rabbi Shimon. This is Rabbi Elazar Rabbi Shimon. Why? Tamar, but he comes and he says that if first of all the mitzvah came and he was modeh bekras, and then yavo edim ya'idu, he's still going to be chayav, and he's not going to be patur. Meaning like this. You remember I told you before that there's going to be a machloket. If you come, right? Imagine right now I come and I ran the red light. Now imagine I give you the heter, right? It's a special heter that if you come and you're modeh bekras, you're going to be patur. Now what happened was I wasn't going to do anything, and all of a sudden I come with the side of my eye and I see there were two witnesses there. So I run inside and I come and I say, I just ran the red light. And then the two witnesses come inside. They say, by the way, we just saw this guy ran the red light. Is he chayav or is he going to be patur? So it's a machloket. One shita says he's going to be chayav. Why? Because it's only if be'emet he would have been 100% patur, meaning if he would have kept his mouth shut. So therefore, then it makes sense that he's going to come and he's going to admit he feels remorse, he feels this, fine. But if the only reason why he did it was because he already knows there's two witnesses coming, so for that shouldn't exempt him from everything. But there's a machloket, right? So according to this shita of Rabbi Elazar ben Shimon, if the witnesses are going to come afterwards and testify, he's bemet going to be chayav. So says the Gemara, Eima Seifa, let's see the Seifa, Hodam Atzmo, he's going to be patur. So then that's going to be like Rabbanan. So what's going on? Do we hold like Rabbi Elazar ben Shimon, or do we hold like Chachamim? That according to Chachamim, the second you're modeh biknas, atatamid patur. You're patur leolam. Even if witnesses come afterwards, it doesn't matter. So answers the Gemara, Kula, the entire Braita is Rabbi Elazar ben Shimon. Behachi kamar. This is what it means to say. Lo mashkach ala hoda mipi atzmo de patur, ela heicha deleka edim klal vehoda me'atzmo. He says there's no edim, right? And then all of a sudden he's going to be modeh from himself. But modeh beknas, and afterwards comes edim, he's going to be chayav, and therefore the edut is on the knas, right? Which is actually on mamon gamur. So therefore, if somebody's going to be mashviah de knas, they're going to be chayav also. So to do with the knas, they're also going to be obligated as well. Fine. Mishnah. Lamed Gimel Amud Bet, 33b. Mishnah says as follows, yes. Says the Mishnah, Lamed Gimel Amud Bet. Yeah, משפיע אני אליכם אם לא תבואי ותגידי שאני כהן, שאני לוי, שאיני בן גרושה וחלוצה, שאיש פלוני כהן, שאיש פלוני לוי, או שאינו בן גרושה וחלוצה, או שאנס את איש את פלוני את ביתו ופיתה את ביתו, שחבל בי בני, שחבל בי חברי, right? או יצא שלי קדישי בשבת, אלו פטורים. So now in all these cases, there's going to be a ptur to do with the Shevuot Ha'edut. Remember, we're always talking about Shevuot Ha'edut. Shevuot Ha'edut means I come and I tell two witnesses, you guys are going to testify about me that I'm a Kohen. They say, we have no idea that you're a Kohen. Maybe you say that, but I have no idea. How do you prove it? And then all of a sudden, you're a kafan in the bebet, so you're going to be chayav. That's called Shevuot Ha'edut. You're going to be chayav a korban. So again, it doesn't matter whether it's going to be that he's a Kohen, that he's a Levi, that he's not a Ben Gusha V'Chlutza, that this person is a Kohen, this person's a Levi, he's not a Ben Gusha V'Chlutza, whether there's somebody that actually came and violated this guy's daughter, seduced this guy's daughters, that somebody hit me, it was Chaval Bi Beni, or Chaval Bi Chaveri, right? So now, because the other one was, in the previous Mishnah, right, was that it was Hikani Beni. Hikani Beni means just my son hit me, but he didn't make a Chabala. Without a Chabura, he's not Chayav Mitah. When he makes a Chabura, that's when he's Chayav Mitah. That's why in the previous Mishnah was that somebody violated his daughter, or he seduced his daughter, or his son hit him. Right? But again, when his son hit him, it didn't make a Chabura. Here is Chaval Bi Chaveri, or Chaval Bi Beni. My son made a Chabala. Chabala, the second he makes a Chabala, right? Now he's going to be Chayav Mitah. Okay? Because again, obviously he made a wound. Right? Meaning if a person comes and his son hits him, right, but he doesn't make a wound, so he's not chayav mitah. It's only if he makes a chabala, then he's going to be chayav mitah. Okay? So he says, "O sheili kedishi b'Shabbat." Now remember, Shabbat is not Kippur. It's a lot of davar. Here it's Shabbat. So in all these cases, it's going to be patur from the korban. So let's start. Okay? Number one, Gemara. Ta'ama d'ish ploni kohen, d'ish ploni lewi. So he comes and he says the reason why the Edim are going to be Pturim is because they wanted him to swear whether he's going to be a Kohen or a Levi, right? Which is basically a dut on Yuchasim, not a Mammon, not a money. So therefore, it comes out that if it was going to be something to do with money, right? So for example, let's say it was going to be Mashpian Elechem, Manele Ploni Bia Ploni, and then he's going to be Chayavin. Haktani Seifa, but we learned the Seifa, Achi Shmu Mipia Tovea. You're only going to be Chayav, right, when he actually hear it from the Tovea, that he's Tovea what it is. But without, if he's not Tovea, you're going to be Patur. So what's the case then? So he comes and he says, Shmuel says, Beva beharsha'a. The person was coming with a harsha'a, meaning there was a Tvya Mamonit, right? And the person came with a Yipui Koach. Harsha'a is like a power of attorney. Thank you. Power of attorney. So the power of attorney is giving you the power to come and to take it, right? So now, to do with this, right, he's coming instead of you. So the edim that he comes and he's making them swear is ke'ilu, that he's the one that's making them swear. Because remember here, right, we were talking about also that somebody else, sheish ploni kohen, sheish ploni levi, or now 1 second, why what does that do to me? I understand that if I'm a kohen, right, and now you're going to testify, you were supposed to testify that I'm a Kohen, I was able to receive Trumot Masrot. You didn't want to testify, I lost that money. But if it's on somebody else, how can you obligate them for me coming to you? You have to hear it from the guy's mouth. You remember we said that what happens if I just came on my own and I just said, I swear I don't know anything of you. I don't know anything to do with you. So I'm patur. Why? You didn't ask me for anything. You have to come from your mouth and say, I want you guys to swear that you don't know me testimony. It has to come from the mouth of the Tovea. Tovea means that he has to actually come and tell you. Yeah, that means even, you remember we said the case, even if the guy's running after them and the guy's turning around, we don't know anything. We swear we don't know anything. They're still patur. Why are they still patur? Because he has to come in with his mouth and say, I want you guys to swear that you guys don't know anything about my case. We say we swear we don't know anything. Then they're going to be chayav. Only in that case. Okay? So now here, what? In the case of the woman that comes from. Okay, so says the Gemara. Yeah, he comes and he says, Shmuel says that he's coming with harsha. And the fact that he's coming with harsha, he's like the tovea. Meaning you become the litigant when you have this power of attorney. Because when you have this power of attorney, it's like you are the one that's asking for it. So therefore it's you. So even though you're asking it for a third party, you're involved because you have this power of attorney. So says the Gemara, "V'amini Nardai," but Nardai says, "Lo katvina nuchata mentaltali." He says, "What are you talking about? I thought that you're not allowed to write harsha'a on mentaltali. You could only write harsha'a on land, not on movable objects, like for example, money or a pikadon. So what's the case?" So says the Gemara, "Hanimile hechad de kafre." That's only if he goes against it. Aval lo kafre, but if he does not go against it, katvina, we even write it on mentaltali. Meaning, if the guy rejects it, so then you're right. So then you're not going to write it on metaltali and things like that. But if the guy's not going to reject it, so therefore be'emet, will you accept it, even though it was going to be on anything which is movable objects? So Tanu Rabbanam. So we're going to try to bring a proof. Minayin she'en hakatuv medaber ela b'tviyat mamon. How do we know that the pasuk is always talking about tviyat mamon? Meaning, why can't it just be on anything else? Stop. Somebody's coming and he wants to testify, so I want you to testify. Why does he have to say that for sure we're talking about that it's on money? So Rabbi Eliezer Omer, Ne'emar kan o'in, which means the word o, v'ne'emar lahalan o'in, and it says also the word o, right? That means by Shevuot Pikadon and Shevuot Edut, it's both written o. Okay, you have says o ra o yada, or he saw or he knows. So he says ma lehalan, just like over there. Eno medaber al b'tviyat mamon. We're talking about money case. By Shevuot Pikadon, it's talking about money. Your tovia money. So to here we're talking about tovia b'tviyat mamon. So says the Gemara, "Oin de rotzeach yochichu she'en oin medabrim shelo b'tviyat mamon." Says 1 second. What about the oin of the parashat rotzeach? By parashat rotzeach it says, right? Because there also when it says nefesh kitach malam b'mashev chedov o pitzum ediot o begazel o. Now it says over there ve'im besinai yedofenu o ishlich alav b'tztiya v'yamot o be'eva hikav v'yado v'yamot remot yumat hamakeh rotzeachu. He's a rotzeach. Again, also there you have oz. So if over there we're talking about oz and has nothing to do with money, has to do with killing the guy, because he was a murderer. So then what are you talking about then? So he says, Danin oin sheyesh imayim shevua, me'oin sheyesh imayim shevua. Val yochich oin drotzeach she'en imayim shevua. Meaning like this. There's 3 different psukim. There's one pasuk of the oin. Oin zot omeret kol ha'oz. O. You have o by Shevuot Pikadon. Why was the Shevuot Pikadon? Right? It says, נפש כי תחתה מעלה ויחש במיתו בפיקדון, או בתשומת יד, או בגזל, או השקט, או מצב ונשפע על שקט. That's one. שבועת הפיקדון. Another one is the שבועת העדות. ונפש כי תחתה ושמעה הכל עלה, right? והוא עד, right? או ראה או ידע, אם לא יגיד ונשא עוונו. That's in ויקרא ה' א', right? So therefore that's where it says in the pasuk that you're obligated to give testimony. And if you don't give testimony, you're going to be punished. So therefore he comes and he says, V'nasa vono. So therefore there you also had o. There's a third place, Rotzeach. By Rotzeach, it says, this is in Bamidbar Lamed Hey, towards the end of Bamidbar, right? It says, I think it's Matot Maseh. He says, Vim b'sinai yedofenu v'shach o b'tzviya v'yod o be'evad. Again, o. So the Gemara says like this. The Gemara says, from the fact that I had o and o, by Shevuot Edut and Shevuot Pikadon, I put them together and I say, just like by Shevuot Pikadon, it's on money. So to Shevuot Edut, on money. As the Gemara, it's also written O by Rotzeach, and Rotzeach has nothing to do with money. And so the Gemara, it's much better for me to compare O, Shevuot Pikadon, Shevuot Edut, because they both have to do with Shevuah, than to compare them to Rotzeach that has nothing to do with Shevuah. That's what he says. Danin o'in sheyesh imayim shevua, me'o'in sheyesh imayim shevua, ve'al yochichu o'in derotzeach she'en imayim shevua. Fine. Ask the Gemara. I'll bring you another o. O of sota. O'in de sota yochichu. Right? Why? She'en o'in v'yesh imayim shevua. They also have a shevua, and we're not talking about tviyat mamon. There by the sota, it says, O avar alav ruach kina v'kinet ishto, o ish asher ta'avor alav ruach kina v'kinet ishto. Again, o. You also have oz. So therefore, by the sota, you have the oz, and it has nothing to do. And then, sorry, you have the oz, and you have a shevua also, because she v'ishbiya kohen et ha'isha, yishvua ta'ala. He makes her swear. So there's also shevua, and there it has nothing to do with what? What?
There is mamon because he doesn't have to pay the ketubah.
Very good. 1 minute. So says the Gemara, right? He comes and he says like this. He says, right? Look in footnote number 30. He asks your question, doctor.
Oh, yeah.
Footnote number 30. Okay, fine. Well, afterwards, looking for he asked your question. Tosafot. Very good. Yeah. So he comes and he says like this. He says, "Danin oim sheyesh imahem shevua, right? Ve'en imahem kohen. Me'oim sheyesh imahem shevua ve'en imahem kohen. Val yochichu im derotzeach she'en imahem shevua. Val yochichu doim desotah, that even though it has shevua, there's a kohen." Meaning, when I'm always comparing, I like comparing apples with apples. I don't like comparing apples with oranges. Al takish, as they say. Yeah, what does that mean? I don't want to come and always just, what about this? What? No. One second. So what happens? I've got here 4 different cases of oins. I've got rotzeach, sota, shevuot pikadon, shevuot edut. At the beginning, I compared shevuot pikadon and shevuot edut. They both have to do with money. That means, just like shevuot pikadon has money, shevuot edut is with money. Now they both have oz. So we ask from rotzeach. Rotzeach also has oz, but rotzeach doesn't have a shivua. So I say, I don't want to do it. Okay, what about sota? Sota does have a shivua. So the Gemara answers, sota has a kohen. Meaning the shivua is made through a kohen. So therefore, says the Gemara, I want to compare Shevuot Pikadon to Shevuot Edut, meaning the other way around. Shevuot Edut from Shevuot Pikadon. And I don't want to compare it to Rotzeach because there's no Shivua. And I don't want to compare it to the Sotah because there's no Kohen. Okay? So says the Gemara, Rabbi Akiva says, right, I'm going to learn another halacha. Meaning, how do I know? Meaning, if I'm going to ask you, how do you know Shevuot Edut is only to do with money? Because if there was no money, there's nothing what to talk about. Right? So he says, Vayachi Hashem le'echat me'aleh, yesh me'elev shu chayav, yesh me'elev shu patur. Ha'keitza, tevaom amon chayav, tavar acher patur. He's learning it from another thing. That only when you're going to come, you're going to take this from this obligation, you're going to be chayav, but something else, you're going to be patur. So on money, you're going to be chayav, on anything else, you're going to be patur, which means that this. For example, let's say I come and there's no monetary benefit. So for example, let's pretend nowadays, there is still going to be always even monetary benefit nowadays because, for example, even by a Kohen nowadays, even if there's no Trumot to Masrot, but there still does exist the concept of Pidyon Ben. So there is something of money. But let's pretend that there's no Pidyon Ben. Let's pretend that there's no money. I come and I tell you, I want you guys to testify that I'm a Kohen. Now, there's no money benefit. So there's a benefit of kavod maybe. I want to get the first aliyah. I want to do the Birkat HaMazon when there's no rabbi. Things like that, but there's no money. So what happens if you guys were kofer? So you guys are going to be patur. Why are you going to be patur? There's no money. So therefore, how do you know that it has to be with money? So Rabbi Akiva comes and he says, it's from the pasuk. Vayachi Hashem la'achat me'eleh. Achat you're going to be chayav, ve'akol hashar you're going to be patur. What is achat you're going to be chayav? Money. If it's not money, you're going to be patur. Says the previous one, which was not Rabbi Akiva, right? He comes and he says, how do you know? It was a Tanakama. Rabbi Eliezer. Rabbi Eliezer says, from the O. O. Yeah, what does that mean? You're learning Shevuot Edut from Shevuot Pikadon. A third way to learn it. How do you know that it's only from money? Rabbi Yosef Galilei Omer, Hare Omer, it says in the Pasuk, Vehu Ed, or Ra'a o Yada, which means that you were an Ed that you saw the action, or you're an Ed because you were known about it. We're talking about a yidiyah, which is basically either with riyah without yidiyah or yidiyah without riyah, right? Which means that there's not going to be such a thing only with tviyat mamon. Now, how? How does it work that kilu you saw it but you don't know about it, or you don't know about it but you saw it? What's going on? So the Gemara says, riyah below yidiyah ketzad. What's the case of riyah without yidiyah? Mane maniti lecha bifnei ploni uploni. If a person comes and he says, I lent you money in front of so and so and for us. Yavo ploni ploni v'yayidu, zohi riyah b'lo yidiyah. Right, which means that this. Imagine right now, I come to my friend and I said, I lent you money in front of so and so. Right now, I didn't tell you if it was a matana or halva'a or a piraon.
So the action, but he doesn't
right?
understand what it is.
Exactly. He saw the action, meaning he saw 2 witnesses came in, they saw that he gave $200 to the other guy, right? Just like, we had it on camera when they were giving, the hush money. Yeah, we saw the action. Oh, you don't know what it was. Yeah, you don't know. So he comes and he says, that's riyah below yidiyah. Okay. What's the yidiyah without riyah? Ketzad. Maneho detali bifne ploni uploni. You were modet to me that you're obligated to me 100, right? With right in front of so and so. So yavo ploni zoi yidiyah below riyah. They didn't see the money handing over from my hand to your hand. But you were modeh in front of them. So therefore here you have a yediyah, but you don't have a riyah. They didn't see the 100, they didn't see any money going from one to another. They only know about it because of the hoda'ah. So that's, again, you have yediyah without riyah, and riyah without yediyah. Okay, so therefore comes the Torah and saying that it has to do with money, because we're talking about a halva. So that is the shita of Rabbi Yoseh Hagilileh. Fourth one, Rabbi Shimon Omer. Rabbi Shimon says chiyev kan v'chiyev bepikadon. Meaning, the Torah comes and it says you're going to be chayav by Shevuah b'sheket, and right, just like by Shevuot Aidut, and you're going to be chayav also in pikadon. Just like over there, it's only talking about tviat mamon. So here, talking about tviat mamon. Velo, and not only that, it's a kavachomer. Just like a pikadon, they made women like men, family members not like non-family members. Pasul de'edu to kasher. V'chayav, and you're going to be chayav al kol achat bifnei bedin v'shelo bifnei bedin. Eno medaber ela b'tviat mamon, and it's only talking about mamon. Ha'edut, that they didn't do the same thing, right? Shelo asu ba nishim kanashim grovim krochokim psulim ksherim ve'eno chayav ela achat bifnei bedin. Eno din shelo medaber b'tviat mamon. It's a kal v'chomer. Meaning like this, by pikadon. Yeah, what happens right now by pikadon? If I bring witnesses, right, that really by met it was family members, but they saw the pikadon, or they were psulim, right, or all these things. In all these cases, right, that's what we said by pikadon. It's different because by pikadon these people are believed. It's not edut. It's not testimony. Testimony, you need kosher witnesses. You need people that are not family members. You need men and not women. You need, that's all by edut. Pikadon has nothing to do with it, right? Pikadon, even without that. And that we actually learned. We learned that in the Mishnah, right? This was a Mishnah. Which Mishnah was it? I don't remember which daf. We have to find out. Lemala, Shevuot Pikadon ve'Sheket. This is talking about check Lamed Amud Aleph. It's not edut. It's on.
אבל they saw that they...
בדיוק, אז זה עדות, מה זה לא? מעידים על זה, לא?
No.
אז מה הם עושים שם?
This is Shevuot Edut is Lamed Amud Aleph. Shevuot Edut is Lamed Amud Aleph, and Pikadon is Lamed Vav Amud Aleph, I think it was. Let me see.
מה אנחנו צריכים להגיד? מה הפואנט שם? מה הם שם?